Hey everyone, this is Chris Barnes from East Brunswick Public Library. You're listening to another episode of our Read, Watch, Listen podcast, where we catch up with people in the community to find out what they're reading, what they're watching, and what they're listening, and how you can get a copy of it, usually at the East Brunswick Public Library. Cheap plug. So our special guest today is Komal Mehra. She's an East Brunswick-based artist, and we've been wanted to have her on the show for a while. She's involved in a ton of organizations in our community. Komal, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Komal, you are all over the town. You're involved with a million different things. So, why don't you talk about what we might best know you from?
Yes, sure. I would love to introduce myself. I'm a self-taught artist who loves to create life on canvas with different art mediums like watercolors, acrylics, oil pastels, and so on. So, I must say, art started as a childhood hobby, which has turned into my passion with each growing year. And I love sharing it with creative people and friends by conducting some art and craft sessions around the community. And I just want to mention one thing that my art sessions actually started with the East Brunswick Library and Melissa. So thanks to East Brunswick Library and Melissa for these creative opportunities. And I would also like to share that I got this idea of online art sessions during the time of pandemic, which I would say it was a blessing in disguise. It turned out as a nice source of rejuvenation. It turned out as a nice source of refreshment for me, as well as everyone around, which I pursued further. And I have been conducting some online and in-person art sessions with some reputed organizations, including East Brunswick Recreation and the East Brunswick Library. I am a freelance graphic designer, and last but not the least, I love to pen down some feel-good poetry and short stories, and I have even participated in some short story contests with the East Brunswick Library, some haiku poetry as well, and I love to sing as well.
Now, listeners, I told you that Komal was involved in everything, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. So let's get into our show. It's Read, Watch, Listen. So, Komal, what have you been reading lately?
So, Chris, as I mentioned earlier, I love to write some poetry. So definitely I love to read some heartwarming verses too. Recently, I started reading this book titled She Walks in Beauty. It's an anthology of poems written by Caroline Kennedy, which describes a woman's journey through poetry. So this book is divided into sections that encompass the milestones, the stages that a woman goes through, like falling in love, marriage, motherhood, friendship, death, and grief. And each section has a set of beautiful poems that portray the life of a woman in each stage of her life. So being a woman, I think this book is close to my heart. And it's not just one poet. There are a lot of poets whose poems have been included in this book. Okay, so this poem is titled as High School Senior by Sharon Olds, where the poet has very delicately expressed her feelings as a mother and her emotions while her daughter is leaving for college. I know I am a bit far from that stage. My daughter is just going to turn 13, so there are like 4 more years to go. But I think all those listeners, they can relate to it. The mothers, they can relate to it. The parents can relate to it. So this was something I wanted to talk about the book.
Is there anything else that you've read lately? Is there any authors or genres that you like?
I have actually read a few poems. The poets I would like to mention here, like Emily Dickinson. I love her poem called Hope. Then Robert Frost, that's the poem that I love about him, is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Then William Wordsworth, there's a poem called Splendor in the Grass. So I know I have been talking about poems a lot because I love to write poetry, but definitely being an artist, since you said if I have read any other book, I have read a book which is related to art, and it's an ebook on Hoopla app. It's about watercolors by Carolina Linscott. It gives a very detailed knowledge about the watercolor techniques and textures, as well as a deep knowledge about colors and contrast. So being an artist, I try to broaden my horizon. I try to hone my artistic skills. So recently I have read this book. It's an ebook again. It's from Hoopla, and I think it's provided by East Brunswick Library, so everyone can have access to it. It's Faces and Features by Deborah Kaufman. And again, as I said, I want to improve on my artistic skills. So, in terms of sketching, I'm not that good at it. So, definitely, I'm having an in depth information from this book about how to sketch better. It has nice step by step exercises that explore ways to sketch a complete portrait. So, all those artists who would love to learn sketching, I think it's a good book.
And if you go into the show notes when you finish listening to this, we are going to put links so you can download them straight from Hoopla. So our next question, Komal, is what have you been watching? It could be a movie, a television show.
I love to watch some heartwarming TV shows that I can put on TV while I'm doing my daily chores or creating some artwork for a session or just for fun. So, one of the series that I would like to mention is The Sweet Magnolias. I recently finished it. This series introduces us to three lifelong best friends from a very tight knit town, which they've named as Serenity. Actually, I love the name Serenity of the town as well as the name of this show is Sweet Magnolias. It actually drive me to start watching it. And when I watched this first season, I was like watching all the three seasons. And now I'm watching the fourth season, which is coming soon, and I'm waiting for it. This story is about three best friends, Maddie, Helen, and Dana Sue, who lift each other up as they juggle through relationships, through their family, through their careers. All in all, I feel it's a very feel good story as I like to watch these kinds of stories. They are inspiring in terms that the friends they get together over a glass of wine every evening, they share their weals and woes, they laugh together, they be sad together, but they come out stronger and happier at the end. So this is what I like about these kind of shows, that they actually give a community feeling, a feeling of oneness. Can we talk about one more show? It's called This Is Us, and I think many of us might have seen it. I actually started watching it while I was a little bit under the weather, and I thought, why not see it? Why not try to watch it? It's on Netflix, and I started binge watching it recently. It's a very heart touching, emotional, but at the same time, it puts a smile on my face. Sometimes it makes me laugh too. So it has all the tastes of life. And again, it's about three siblings, whom they call as the Big Three, and their parents, Jack and Rebecca Pearson. It's about the Pearson family. And this story takes place mainly in the present, in the flashbacks and the flash forwards. And the way they have shown it, it just gives a simple message that people who we lose in our life, they live through the people left behind. They have shown this by their multiple generation of family where they see the connective tissues, and we can see how the people they lose, they remain in the picture throughout the series.
It's a very good show. It's very well written. Everything that is on screen is there for a purpose. They call back on it in later episodes. It's a very rewarding experience. It requires some brain power.
Have you watched it all, Chris?
I haven't finished it yet. I've started and stopped it a couple times, but
I started watching it like a year back. Then I stopped watching it. Then this time I started watching it more with more passion, and I think I'm on the third season. I'm still left with three more seasons, but I feel it just connects me to the family.
no, it's a good show. I mean, everyone liked it. Everyone here at the library was talking about it when it was broadcast for the first time. So yes, no, thumbs up. So, is there any other TV shows or movies that you want to talk about?
I won't take much of the time, but I'll definitely mention a few more series that I have watched, something related to something that is heart touching, something heartwarming, like When Calls the Heart. I think I watched all the seasons. Then there is Heartland, then Firefly Lane. These all I think are on Netflix. Then there is one more, Julia Child. I actually like the story, and I was just thinking yesterday about what else have I watched, and I just got reminded of Julia Child, and I think it's on HBO, and I watched it a year back. It's a nice inspirational story.
No, that's for sure. So, Komal, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about that you've been working on in your art projects? I know you do a ton of programs for the library and for the arts in general.
Yes, definitely. I love to talk about art. So you've asked me the right question, Chris. I would like to talk about one of my favorite projects that I did recently. It's the Butterfly Project, the Spread Your Wings project, which Arts Coalition had actually initiated. And we had to send a few pictures of butterfly designs to the organization, and my kids and I, we participated. It was during the pandemic, I think, and we got like 9 of our designs selected, and we had to paint on a 3 by 3 sculpture those butterfly designs. There were 9 butterflies, and we did them all in about 2 months. Most of them have been installed around the town. One of them is outside the butterfly park, and another one is near the library too. And there are, I think, 4 or 5 more which are yet to be installed, but it was a fun project. It was hard, but definitely it was worth it. And I would love everyone to have a look at them when they all are installed around town. And one more project that I'm looking forward to is the Makers Day project that I have been talking about with the library. There are 4 art sessions that we are thinking of doing during the Makers Day in March with the library. And it's about recycle and crafting. So I'm definitely excited about it. And we are still talking about it. And I'm really excited about it.
Very cool. We can't wait for Maker's Day. So, Komal, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being on our podcast. As always, thank you for our producer, Melissa Hozick, who makes us sound so cool. For East Brunswick Public Library, I'm Chris Barnes. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Chris. It was a pleasure to be here.